All right. So, yeah, once again, it is recording because we don't exactly know what's going to happen with this, but it's a concept that we have been talking about for long enough. We finally just decided, you know what, we're going to do it. So, I guess, first of all, we will just maybe introduce ourselves. You don't all have to go around and introduce yourselves, but just so that you know who we are. I think I know all of you, and you probably all know Scott too, but Dave's got his tie. All right, now we're ready. Now the meeting can start. It's official. As I was saying, I'm Sarah Johnson. I ran for city council, did not make it, did not think I would, but ran to stir up some conversations. And actually this council club concept is something that my husband, Scott Blake, the spreadsheet nerd behind me here, we've been talking about doing this for a long time because I've known Dave and Lori for years. We've been following the city council agenda for like a decade as it pertains to active transportation initiatives. There's just always all sorts of good stuff packed into the city council. And the real goal here is that we're trying to make sure that folks are talking about what's happening on the city council agenda regularly, so that in 4 years, when we're going to elect people, people already know what's happening and how important it is to elect good folks to make sure that these very important decisions are being handled with care. So yeah, I guess that's kind of the gist of it. So full disclosure, we're not like teaching really anything. We're not experts on this. We're just, as Dave said, concerned citizens who are hoping to just bring more awareness to the city council agenda, and just kind of give folks an outlet to talk about it if they have questions. We have questions a lot of times. And so it's going to be kind of almost like a study hall where we're just, the city council agenda comes out on Thursdays. And so it'll be every Thursday that the agenda comes out. So it dropped this afternoon at 3. We just kind of breeze through it. We'll probably do this around 7:30. I don't know. We're kind of open to what time works best for folks. I know I've had a few people say they're putting kids to bed and 7 isn't an ideal time, so we might bump it to 7:30. Anyway, we don't know. So once again, we're open to feedback. This is just kind of a random concept that we've had, and we wanted to kind of see who would show up. Cindy's already learning. Hooray, success. Okay, we call it a night. Anyway, so what else? Yeah, the main other thing is just we want to, I don't know who this Zach Originatano is, but I'm going to admit him and hope he's not a Zoom bomber. Yeah, again, we have no idea what this will be. Okay, he's not. Okay, cool. Thanks, Aaron. Anyway, so the other kind of concept behind this is to take shame out of city government. It breaks my heart when our city councilors act like you're an idiot for not knowing everything. And like, how can you know everything? Especially when it's hard to sometimes have them respond to your inquiries. So again, this is a shame-free zone. We don't know what we're talking about half the time. We just want to discuss it with all of you. Aaron, I know that you're putting your baby to sleep and or don't like to think that you're an expert, but like, you're kind of one of our, you know, I don't know, we won't say, oh, did she just somehow dropped away? There she is. Oh, you changed from like a square to a real human. Hi, Aaron. If you don't follow Dr. Aaron on Twitter, you should, because she's full of priceless information. Okay, so we are going to, the way that this will generally go, I should have let her say something. She came on. It was nice to see your face briefly, Aaron. We'll bring you back in a minute. But the concept is we will kind of go over briefly what happened at last week's meeting and then look at the agenda for the following week. So I guess before we jump into all of that, did I miss anything? Do you want to say anything? No. Does anybody here want to say anything?
I have 1%, so I know I'm going to lose my battery here. I just want to say thanks again, and I will be following along. I have a lot to learn, so.
Awesome. Thank you, Cindy.
Take care.
Yeah, you too. Cindy's rad. She's working on ranked choice voting stuff, so we might bug her about that at some point. All right, cool. If anybody else has anything to say, you can, I don't know if everybody knows how Zoom works, but you can like raise your hand so it's not utter chaos all the time, although there's not too many of us this go around, so maybe it won't. Louise, I think you maybe came off mute. Do you want to say anything quickly before we hop in?
Yes.
Okay.
I thank you too for doing this. Thanks for supporting Sarah. Yeah, you over there. This is a very important thing to do because you do need a forum where you can, it's more free flow. You can jump on things, deal with life, you know, and not be so stringent about how you conduct a forum. But also, I think that who's organizing it does matter. And I think you have the temperament. I think you have an extensive knowledge to do this. So just very thankful for this. And I'm going to participate as much as I can, just like I do with the city council. Thanks a lot,
Awesome.
guys.
Well, thanks. We're glad you're here. Dave, were you going to say something? Yeah.
Yes, my experience with city government over the last 50 years is that most of the people in city government are very uninterested in citizen input. And it's not just the current mayor. And there are people in government that give lip service to citizen input, and really they don't give a crap. It's not everyone. There are people that I've found in government that are very interested and very concerned, but most of the people that get elected to city government are not there for you and me and the average person trying to figure out how to get through from day to day. So my hope for this is that we find somebody in city government who's interested in citizen input.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you. Yes, we're also definitely, that is kind of always a bummer at city council, is like, if you have a question, you can't really, they never, oh, Manny's here, fun. You know, they don't ever allow you really an opportunity for any type of back and forth, which I understand to a degree, because that would take like ages. But a couple other things, you know, 2 o'clock on a Tuesday is not very accessible for a lot of folks. I am privileged enough to be underemployed currently and have the flexibility to show up most Tuesdays. So I've been there while I was running. I wasn't there as much, but now I'm not. So I'm going to be back on Tuesdays. So if you do ever want to join live, it's Tuesdays at 2 o'clock at City Hall. You can also Zoom in if you want to. You have to register the day before. We have fighting dogs in the background. As I've said, this is going to be extremely casual and probably a little bit chaotic, but anyway, we're going to give it a shot. So yeah, I guess we'll just jump into it. So I think I know at least a few, hi Manny, how's it going? A few of us were at City Council last Tuesday, and just a couple of the brief highlights. We won't go through all of it. And also just for planning's sake, we're only going to go till 8 o'clock tonight. I don't know how much we'll get through, but we'll just give it a stab. So last week at Tuesday's council meeting, I guess some of the highlights that we thought we would bring up were the mayor's kind of anti-discrimination, anti-hate speech, anything that's not delightful. Okay, Aaron's putting the baby down for bed. Okay, cool. Oh, she said that to me and then I just said it to everybody. I'm great at Twitter. Okay, anyway, so the mayor had a resolution that was trying to make everyone less racist and less awful. And, you know, I think a lot of us who stood up and spoke about that testified in support, saying that's a great idea. We would really like action behind the words, so it's not just hollow. And it wasn't just me that was up there saying that. There was a lot of folks, so that was good. And then she gave keys to the city to all of the city councilors that got voted out or resigned, whatever the case may be. Jerem, his last meeting, everybody's last meeting is going to be this coming Tuesday. So Jerem, Ben Gray, Colleen Brennan, they're all gone. They all got keys to the city. The other thing that took up the majority of the time was the Good Life Bar. I don't know if anybody watched. I know Louise was there and Aaron was there, but man, they spent like an hour of the 4-hour meeting, probably about an hour, was on the issue with the Good Life Bar, where they served alcohol to a minor, and the minor drove away and crashed his car and was injured badly. And the real issue, aside from serving alcohol to minors, was the fact that then they went on to destroy the evidence. And so,
surveillance footage.
Yeah, they had surveillance footage, and the owner of the bar destroyed it. And then like, it didn't go well. It was fascinating. It was a long, drawn out process. They showed the body cam footage, which is interesting because when they shot Kenny Jones, they said they couldn't show the body cam footage because it would taint the jury pool. Well, this guy is going to have to go before the judge, but somehow now they showed the body cam footage. Just an interesting.
And then that body cam footage was rebroadcast on the news. So not only was the body cam footage shown at the city council meeting to a small audience, we then saw it on KETV news, which again tainted the jury pool. So that the whole thing of transparency in body cam footage seems to be not consistent.
Yeah, some
So
contradictions.
you're saying that the police were lying?
We kind of are pointing out that there are some discrepancies in the ways that they decide to make things go or not go. Yes, Louise is raising his hand.
Yeah. Yes. As far as I understand it, is the ability to show body cam depends on who possesses the body cam at the time of the request. So if there's a grand jury investigation, they're the investigators that are going to charge or not charge. And so then they would have the footage of a body cam, right? If from here, it's early on, the prosecutor hasn't even charged the bar owner yet. And so the police have it. It might be that when the prosecutor charges, they might request that evidence, and they would be off the hand of the police. So I think that it is convoluted, but I think possession. What was it like? Possession is 9/10 of the law, or something like that. Back when cops was on. So I think that's the issue. I don't think they are necessarily want to hide things. They definitely, the police they don't want to look bad, but when it comes to transparency, there's going to be criticism, and it's understandable on the side of the public.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's just going to be something interesting to watch. But thank you for your input there. And yeah, I mean, I think that, there's just a lot of scrutiny with what is going on with the police right now. I think it's justified, and this was an interesting piece of last week.
And then after they spent an hour, and then at the end of that hour, they basically kicked the can down the road to a month from now, or it's going to be laid over.
Yeah.
No, it was placed on file, so it's basically off the agenda indefinitely until there's a move to bring it back.
Yeah, because they wanted to see what the Liquor Commission was going to do, since they were like, well, we shouldn't have to make a decision until they make a decision. So there's a lot of always this like not it game that we see played at City Hall, and so I don't know, just something to note. So we'll keep an eye on that one. But at this point, nothing really happened, except for we saw the body cam footage, and a lot of his current and prior employees stood up and testified. So anyway, moving right along. There's also talk about the scooters. They're coming back. Lime and Spin, which is on this coming agenda as well. All right. So yeah, did anybody else have anything exciting that they remember from this last Tuesday that was worth bringing up?
I just have a quick question.
Yeah.
Just on the scooters, of course.
Sure.
Of course, that's going to be my question.
Yeah.
Are they actually voting on that on the next council, so their last one, or are they voting on the first for the next council?
They are voting on it this coming council. I think it's
Okay.
item number 25.
Cool.
So
this week.
the public hearing was last Tuesday.
Yeah.
And Sarah spoke, and I believe a representative from Lime and Spin both spoke, all in favor. And then that was the second reading, and then third reading and vote is going to be this next Tuesday.
It's going to be part of the consent agenda, right, Sarah?
Agenda. Yeah. Consent agenda.
Actually, it's weird. Lime is on the consent agenda, and then Spin got
Vice
moved.
versa.
Oh, okay.
Spins on the consent agenda.
Spins on the consent agenda, and Lime got moved. They're striking one line that says, there was a line about the city would have the discretion to deploy an additional 375 scooters. They've struck it from the amendment. So I think it's going to be voted on separately, but there's not going to be any public commentary. It's just going to be the vote.
Yeah. All right.
Cool.
And we think it's probably going to pass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So am I correct in understanding that they're going to take automobile parking spaces away to put in scooter corrals?
No, Dave, no, you're not. Although I did try to sneak that into, well, I didn't sneak it in. We talked about it, and Derek is, a board member of Mode Shift, and he said it was fine. But I did add that into the testimony that I gave, because as you all may or may not know, when the Benson bike corral was removed, they actually wrote a law, an ordinance saying that on-street bike parking is forbidden all around the city unless it's part of a street closure for like a block party. So we're gonna have a block party at some point and bring bike corral. Anyway, so yeah, so I brought up in regards to the spin, and well, we spoke specifically about spin because spin has actually been cool and reached out to Mode Shift and is trying to like kind of foster a relationship and talk about how we can work together with like different data stuff and like some street safety initiatives. And so we are excited that they're using these spin hubs, which is going to hopefully prevent as much clutter and blocking of the sidewalks that we saw with the last attempt with the pilot. But yeah, so I'm hoping that part of the issue is with sidewalk clutter and whatnot. I said, hey, we think as Mode Shift that we should revisit on-street parking availability for not just cars. Yeah, Luis, quickly before we move on.
Yes, the hub, is that basically a station?
Yep, exactly. You can dock them, they'll recharge it, and then that way they're parked and they're recharging, and hopefully will not be blockading the sidewalks because some able-bodied folks are able to jump over scooters or move them, but not everybody is. So, all right, anything else? All right. Has anybody had a chance to look at this week's agenda yet? It just came out, so if you haven't,
No.
that's all right. So I don't know if you all have looked at an agenda ever. I can do a screen share. Maybe I will do that. Okay. Is that thumbs up from Louise on the screen share? All
Or that
right.
he's read it, yeah.
And maybe he's read it. He probably has. He's all over this. All right. So let
The
me
green.
do, yeah, it couldn't be any brighter. All right. Yes. Okay. Can y'all see my agenda? I'm going to go to the top. All right. So if you have not looked at an agenda before, basically it shows you how it's all going to go down. You can always find it online. If you sign up with the clerk, she'll actually email you when it's available so you can see it right away if you're a big nerd like we are and you want to like first stab at it. But anyway, it's on the city council website.
It's usually Thursday around 3.
Yeah, Thursday afternoon it comes out, and then sometimes they'll send an amended version when other stuff gets added. But so they'll always have somebody speak at the beginning. Like you can see I guess this week, last Tuesday, it was Colleen Brennan. She's on her way out. That's delightful. Brinker Harding is speaking this coming Tuesday. All right, so this first presentations and proclamations, that was where the mayor had her proclamation about the anti-discrimination stuff. Planning board, a lot of times there's some interesting stuff in here. To be 100% frank, when it's on 192nd and Pacific, I don't pay as close attention, but there's where it is. And we're not going to go through every single one of these because otherwise we'd be here for like days, I feel like. But anyway, so planning board stuff, and just so you know, anytime there's attachments, read them, because if it's something that piques your interest, a lot of times when you dig deeper into it, you'll learn a lot more. Then liquor license stuff. So some places are new applications for new locations. Some are just like expansions of existing places. Nothing super exciting. Although then sometimes it does turn into exciting stuff with like, serving minors and having your liquor license revoked. I do have to say, speaking of shame and public, participation, this was a couple months ago, but Chris Jerem totally shamed this guy who was trying to apply for a liquor license. And like, I don't know, I just felt like that was not the right way to handle that.
He
was
talked
like,
him out of it.
Yeah, he totally was like, I don't think you want to do this, man. Like, you've got a record. We're not gonna, I don't know. I just feel like there could have been a different way to handle that. But anyway.
Chris Jerem isn't even running again, so he doesn't care.
Yeah, he doesn't care. He doesn't care. Hopefully some of them do.
I noticed communication in opposition to Billy Frogs.
Yeah, so again, with these attachments, we can see who decided that they wanted to. Nick Franson doesn't like it. He says he lives next to him and they fight on the sidewalk, flipped over flower pots, Okay, interesting. I've called their establishment many times to ask for their cooperation. Anyway, so if you email in, oh, there's more than one. I haven't gone through all of these yet, but basically, I don't see any in support, but I do see people that are writing in to say this is not a good idea. So, yeah, serious objections. Second floor is my condo. It's a health hazard behind the alley. So anyway, if you, ever write in, it's public record. So be prepared. Like if you're putting your phone number here, Diane, we could call you. Anyway, we're not thrilled. We oppose it. Okay, that's all of it. So anyway, just keep in mind that anytime you see an attachment, you can check that out and see what's going on. Okay, consent agenda. Basically, this is going to tell you the public hearing already happened. So at this point, unless a counselor pulls it to talk about it further, they pretty much just breeze through all of this stuff. So here, they talked about, redefining what the word building means and stuff. I don't know. There's some stuff that's really not super exciting. Here's this dockless shared scooter operation. This is the one that is spin. Again, we were like, wow, they only are letting spin and not lime move ahead. And then we got further down and realized, okay, no, lime's happening too. They just had to make a little amendment. All right. So then you get to the point where the resolutions are actually available for public hearing. So if you have not spoken in front of council before, it doesn't need to be scary. Keep in mind, they do work for us. I think that's something that cannot be overstated. It is okay. I mean, you can't ask questions when you're there, but you should feel comfortable going up and speaking in front of them. I think it's an important thing to do. Something that I'm interested in getting altered is, aside from it not being Tuesday at 2:00, is I don't think it's fair that you have to say your address publicly. That is really something that discourages folks from wanting to participate. I also think about what if an unhoused person wanted to testify about some sort of, something, anything, because they're residents. Yeah, Louise.
To get around that, you might be able to put the county clerk's address as your address.
Yeah, or the civic building.
Maybe not the civic center, but the county clerk's address.
Yeah,
which is at the civic center.
Because people have tried to get around saying their address before, and they'll make up an address, and they're like, "That's not your real address." What, Manny?
Yeah, but it's it's part of I think it's part of the charter, or it's part of the bylaws. It's in the bylaws, I believe. That
you can say the city clerk's address?
No, that you have to say your address.
Yeah.
Or your residence, or but the thing is if you work for a business or an organization, you can use that too.
Yeah.
Right. So
yeah.
I'm gonna try to use the county clerks next week.
Yeah, give it a shot. We'll see what happens. We can talk about it next time.
I'll be watching.
Yeah, we all will. All right, cool. Interesting. Yeah, that's just something that I think, kind of has come up a lot over the last year. It's just I don't feel comfortable saying my address. And I don't blame you. I mean, anyway, all right. So we will keep moving here. If you notice the word sewer, we spend so much money on sewers. It's on almost every agenda, and it's hundreds of thousands of dollars all the time. So when we're just looking at general spending and what continues to come up, that's just something of note.
Most of that is mandated by EPA, and we've had to go through and essentially replace the city's sewer system because they were mixing wastewater with
everything,
just regular water. So that's what most of that sewer stuff is.
Yes, separation projects.
Yeah, separation project.
Sewer separation.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. I'm just making sure.
So we are helping the global pollution problem by spending all this money.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's oh my gosh, why are we doing it? I'm just saying you'll see it all the time because there are, there's a lot to do. Okay, cool. Then, the things that I like to usually look for involve transportation type stuff. So when I saw a study being done on Park Omaha, that kind of piqued my interest. Basically, they're going to spend $32,000 to just have somebody do some consulting on the finances of Park Omaha. So just a little fun fact there. You know, reconstruction of Dodge Street. There's generally a lot of money that goes to like resurfacing and repaving. Okay, more sewer stuff. Oh, okay, this one. Well,
highlight.
Miller Days is
Oh.
happening for 37. Luis spoke in support of, I think, Cinco de Mayo Street being closed down, 24th Street last time. Anyway, okay, so number 38, they are going to be renaming part of, okay, Scott would like me to highlight Haddock Circle, a commemorative street name. So if anybody knows Mr. Haddocks and you want to go talk about how awesome he is, that would be your opportunity. Oh, we also were talking a while ago about how Omaha is like one of, what'd you say, like 9
Nebraska.
cities?
Would
Okay,
you-
Nebraska, you say it, you have.
And Nebraska is one of only 9 states in the United States that does not have a Martin Luther King Jr. street. We do have a commemorative street in North Omaha, but it's not, there's a difference between a commemorative street and the entire street being renamed. And like I said,
Right.
Nebraska is one of
And you know what's really interesting about the street itself? It's
Hmm.
on Evans Street, and Malcolm X was born on Evans Street. So that's kind of a interesting reason. I don't know why they put I feel like there's some inherent conflict there about them doing that. So
That is-
anyway,
Yeah.
yeah.
Huh. And Malcolm X's birthday was just yesterday. Happy birthday, Malcolm.
But
Right.
it is the city council's job to rename not just commemorative streets, but actual streets. So we
What
hope
does
someday to see MLK come up.
I'm just gonna throw it out. It'd be interesting for me at least to see that process. Like I might look at that attachment because I'm sure it says who made that nomination and who
Mhm.
carried it there to be in this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, yeah.
Probably Creighton, I think.
It is Creighton, actually. Yeah. So, because he and his wife gave a sizable gift that involves now STEM and stuff on North 24th Street. So, yeah. Anyway, kind of interesting. And then, okay, so here is on 39 and 40. 40 is my favorite because for $1, 3 parcels of land are changing hands. Just some fun.
Oh, that's actually near the Manny's Trail, right?
Well, Beltline Trail.
Oh, okay, different.
Yeah, you can kind of see, so 38, we have it over here-ish, and you can kind of see the old railway corridor that's gonna be turning into Beltline Trail.
What's interesting about that is when they sold the land of the trail and built those houses on it, that really put just a problem in the middle of the trail. Anyway, sorry, just throwing that out there.
No, that's good. That's why you're here, Manny. Cool. All right. Moving right along. So just there's all sorts of stuff that happens every week. And a lot of this stuff will have zero conversation. It'll just fly on through, just rubber stamped. What were you gonna say?
On to 42 is the
Okay.
the Tranquility Park 1.3.
Oh,
million.
yeah, almost, yeah, so about 1.4 million for a shed at Tranquility Park, which Tranquility Park's fun. I used to mountain bike there, it's fine, but it's just like, wow, that's a lot of money to go to the shed. Anyway, it's probably more than a shed. As you see, it's like, demolition, draining, all sorts of that stuff. But then 45,000 additional dollars for this one. I thought was kind of interesting because again, I clicked the attachment and it says here community mental health center, and actually all it is for like a drunk tank. It's for when people are intoxicated. So, and then actually I don't remember if I have it open still or not. Yeah, here it is. So it's actually has Todd Schmader's signature on it. So it's basically, I think when the cops get involved and they arrest somebody for being intoxicated, they are just, using this money to deal with that. But I don't know why they call it, mental health when it's a substance abuse. I don't know. Anyway.
Probably because at the end of the year, if the mayor wants to say we've spent so much on mental health in the police, that they can just pull all these and make a number up. So
Yeah.
Well, if it's at the Douglas County Mental Health Center,
Where somebody I know works, it's a medically supervised facility. It's not a drunk tank in the jail. So there's some value in having that. If you're detoxing somebody, is to have them under medical supervision in a medical facility.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
That could actually be a cool thing, because we have really crap mental health services in Nebraska. So
Yeah, that I agree with. But do you think this is a mental health service?
yeah,
When
it's a Douglas County Community Mental Health Center.
Well, I can read that, but what I'm saying is when it is somebody that is, I think it's down here. Protective custody program for intoxicated individuals. I don't know.
Yes, there's a wing at the center, which is inhabited temporarily, mostly by people who are intoxicated, and many of whom are also homeless and can't just go home and sleep it off, but they need a medically supervised facility. So they come and go there, and that goes on right now. So if they're spending money to improve the facility and expand it, that would be a good thing.
They're not expanding the facility, they're just extending the program.
Okay, cool.
$7,500 a month, but yeah, okay, cool. See, this
I
is
would
so
give that a
helpful.
thumbs up. So I
Yeah.
know about that.
I give you a thumbs up for sharing your knowledge, Dave.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Then $200,000 on cop outfits. What do you know about that? No, I mean, basically,
All right. So the other one had a good reason behind it. This one, I don't know. I feel like we could have cheaper uniforms. I mean, come on now.
Well, is it uniforms or is it a militarization of the police equipment?
That'd be
it's
even worse.
uniforms and related equipment, which this one I
Yeah.
did click this attachment, and I think that this is the one. Yeah, it's this one. So $200,000, and it's like there's not any details.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't really like this one, but
Yeah, so if it's riot control gear, I would be wanting to know what they're going to spend the money on.
$200,000 just sounds like a lot for you.
Not if you're equipping police or some other pseudo military government.
Well, that's what I'm saying. For uniforms, it sounds like a lot to me, but I don't know.
And other stuff. That's a generic bullshit umbrella. So you need a list.
and related-
You need a list of what they're buying.
Exactly. And so that's kind of one of those things where I'm like, if it's $200,000, that's not nothing, but it could build you some protected bike lanes and or go somewhere like mental health or whatever. And I know it's all, in its own little buckets, but when they're spending $200,000, I think it's helpful to know what it is that they're spending it on.
And they do
Who
have a new
knows?
class of police recruits that they're going through right now. So
And what does Gulls LLC make and sell? I mean, that would be the first place to look.
Brilliant. Scott's looking it up right now. Yes.
It's going to be undershirts or something like that.
Yeah.
Real $200,000 worth
Well,
of
Gulls is
undershirts.
on 35th and Leavenworth.
It is actually like undershirts. It's that uniform.
Oh,
place on
that's the
Leavenworth.
uniform embroidery place.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, okay, yeah.
Wow. $200,000 on embroidery.
It looks
well,
like just-
do you remember what the county spent on those custom face masks at the start of the COVID epidemic? And they were really crappy face masks and everybody refused to wear them. So they just wasted all that money.
Yeah.
Nobody in a real job ever wore them. It was only the mayor at a news conference, and they spent tens of thousands of dollars on that stuff.
Yeah. Interesting. So anyway, I don't know. Some folks that I have been chatting with recently are always looking at police spending. And so that was one of them. And this next one is another $310,000 for radios to put cops in schools, which I know a lot of people think that cops should be getting out of schools. I don't know. Sometimes too, the other thing is like, if you do like a control F and like search police or whatever, that, it won't come up in
only
this.
5 times.
Only in the uniform one. So my point is the next one down, if you aren't reading all of the items line by line, you wouldn't notice that here's another $310,000 for radios and stuff for police and schools. Anyway. And then, okay.
Hey, Sarah.
Yeah,
So we just went through a lot of items
we did.
on the resolutions in consent, on consent or whatever. And they're only on the agenda one time. That's the thing about the resolutions on consent. They're not from last week or the week before or whatever. They were placed today on the agenda, and they're going to be off the agenda once they're approved. So that's the tricky thing.
And are they not going to be debated?
unless they get pulled off by one of the sitting councilors. Sometimes, like I know there was one about what was it? It was an extra, I don't know how many tens of thousands or maybe 100,000, I don't remember the number, but money to the police for marijuana control or something like that in traffic stops or something. And I spoke up saying like a lot of states are legalizing it. It seems weird that we would be taking this money to like specific, anyway, they pulled it off and discussed it a little bit and then still passed it. But so they can sometimes pull it off, but it's usually only if you come and you speak about it enough that piques their interest and then they pull it off. Because otherwise, yeah, it just, like Louis said, it just kind of just gets brushed right through a lot of times.
Right.
All right.
What we call the Presbyterian Railroad.
Okay, very good.
Right, because can I just say that oftentimes they'll just list those numbers of the consent resolutions and then just take a vote and it's like, yeah, we approve all of them. So Luis is right that, you know, unless someone speaks up when they see it on the agenda, they just like, you know, they just go right through.
Totally. And that is so many times, I feel like, I wonder even if, I mean, I honestly wonder how many times they've read all of this, including the attachments, because I don't know.
It might be useful to know how something gets put on the resolution section, because to me, it's like, man, you guys are kind of deciding a lot of stuff here, you know, with what doesn't appear to be a great deal of deliberation.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Yeah, totally. I don't know how.
Yeah, resolution, this section is mostly for the mayor. A lot of things on the resolutions are from the mayor.
Yeah, as recommended by the mayor.
As recommended by the mayor, and by the city charter, any expenditure above $20,000 has to be approved by council.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of these expenditures aren't millions of dollars, but they're like 58,000, a few $100,000. And that was brought forward by one of the departments head, approved by or recommended by the mayor.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, gotcha. So this is like an example of how the strong mayor system works.
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
I wish that the city council would rewrite the charter away from a strong mayor form of government, because it is such a divided, kind of dissected city. It seems to me that one person who lives apart from the city making decisions for the entirety of the city doesn't always make the most sense. Whereas we expanded the council and redistributed control to the council, that would be interesting. It'll probably never happen, but anyway.
Charter reviews coming up. Scott, I know you know about that.
Yeah, I think 23.
Yeah, I think that deserves its own discussion group, perhaps.
Yeah, totally. And that's actually was also something that we've been talking about that led us to this council club idea, because we're like, man, there's just like a bunch of stuff to talk about, and the charter convention is certainly one of them.
Is there anything on this agenda about annexation?
Oh God,
I don't think so.
I didn't even get through all of it because yeah, that's part of the other thing with like having this at 7 o'clock when it all comes out at 3 might not, and it doesn't always come out at 3, but I don't know. There is TIFF, that's exciting. All right, let's keep going. Yeah, because are we somehow, oh, it went all the way. See, you're messing with my jam here, buddy. Goodness. Scott and I have very different ways of operating.
That's where we were. I think we might have been 43. I think it was the spin. But the next one I had was 52. Go up one more. I believe there, Dauntless is where we stopped.
Yeah.
47.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there is where they made a slight adjustment, and then scooters are happening. All right. Oh, here they're actually, I do think that it's kind of interesting. I know Vinny Palermo likes to get on the Public Works Department a lot, which is one of the things that I think I probably only have in common with Vinny Palermo, is that we both expect better from the Public Works Department. But they are voting to increase the salary range. So maybe they can find someone who wants to work with them. I think it's more of a culture issue in Public Works.
Oh, can you go back to that really quick?
Sure.
Postponed from the gender. Okay, so this is one that Vinnie Palermo has been delaying.
Yeah.
Because they're giving a pay grade to a manager who has no employees, basically, as he sees it. There's pothole repair. There were like 33 technicians short, and yet they were spending their energy on figuring out who the manager was going to be instead of figure out how to get those positions filled. And didn't sit well with Vinny, and so he's been kicking it down the road.
Fascinating. All right, so the next thing that we thought was interesting was, and again, we could go through all these, but we'd be here all night. We already are at 7:45 almost.
52.
So this one, 52, this is talking about what to do with the balance of the general fund from the 2020 budget. And when you look at this first attachment, it shows you that it's over $3 million, which this one I am a little confused about. So this one will be a team effort perhaps. But here we're seeing where it's leaving the general fund and going to the Convention and Visitors Bureau, marketing, and then citywide sports for $350,000. Anyway, then when you go back to it and you look at the amendment from the finance department, you see that actually they're like, just kidding, we only want to give it to sports. Is that how everyone else is reading it? Like, what happened to that other $3 million?
Yes, the amendment of the whole would replace the original item. So if they're only allocating 350, then they're still going to have 2 million and 6.
This is actually in addition to the 3 million. So yeah. So what my question is, and I understand that part, that like this takes over the last document, but my question is, what happened to that $3 million? Is it still just?
They might allocate it later.
Erin, hi, tell us all about it.
Hi, I don't actually know for sure, but this is a problem that I've been following in county board. So they got a bunch of money, they got 30+ million or something from the county from CARES.
Yeah.
And we're seeing the same thing happen in county board, where like money is being transferred into the general fund that was left over from CARES. And it's just really hard to track.
Yeah.
So I don't know for certain if this is transferred money or if, I don't know, but it things like this always, especially around CARES funding and with all the money that's coming in from the feds, always makes me a little nervous because it's like sleight of hand.
And a lot of money. Yeah.
That's what happened in county board, was like sleight of hand, and suddenly it's different money. So they have
there's no surplus without the CARES money.
Yeah, so they have money left over from things, but I don't think either government has been particularly clear about where the money is coming from. But you're right, Dave, there is no surplus without the CARES funding. And I'm not entirely certain what happened to the 30+ mil they got in CARES or where it went. I haven't seen that I know where some of it went, but I don't know where all of it went. So these kinds of things just always raise questions for me, because I'm like, I don't know. If we have $3 million extra, I could think of some other things to spend it on, but that's just me. I have
well, no, me too. I was like thinking, we have a pretty severe situation when it comes to like food insecurity and housing needs, and it's like $2 million to the visitors center. I don't know, but then it just disappears. So I guess I was thought it was something.
I think Erin, you're probably onto something, that because the visitor bureau got money from the county, the city probably doesn't want them double dipping and getting an additional money, and then they're going to come back next year or whatever and say we still have a surplus because we didn't spend this money.
Well, a lot of the visitors, like hospitality visitors bureaus, those kinds, all of the tourism entities were all propped up by CARES in various forms, either from the county or from the state. The citywide sports is interesting to me. I'm not entirely certain what that is, but I do know that they just passed the Shovel Ready Capital Investment Act in the legislature, which allocates, I think, $12-15 million to sports complexes and botanical gardens and so on and so forth. But I will just say I'm really looking forward to how the Convention and Visitors Bureau spends this money. Hopefully they spend it on something as cool as renaming the riverfront the riverfront. I don't know why I do my job and don't get paid enough if I could just sign up to name things what they are. Like,
Yeah.
I'm naming you a city park. Thanks for the 80,000. It's just great.
Yeah. Bonkers for sure.
Yeah, citywide.
I
sports
bet
park-
it's for a College World Series. I mean, to prep, they're probably going to say that they're using it for that.
Mm.
Just saying.
I thought we made money on the College World Series, Manny.
Oh, come on now. Like,
Well, now,
you
I've
gotta
been
spend
arguing
money to
about
make money,
that
right?
for 50 years.
Yeah.
NCAA makes money on it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's who makes money on it.
Yeah.
So this
Okay.
is
And
pretty funny.
The city gets to move all those concrete barriers
Yeah.
around the streets, around the stadium, because of the way they allowed the architects to site the place so it doesn't have adequate security around it. I mean, don't even get me started on that. I work in the neighborhood and it pisses me off every year.
Understandably.
My thing is, why does everybody drive down there? Why don't they like just take a bus or live down there or something like that?
Or ride their bike down there.
Yeah.
That would be
Bus
great.
and bike is the way to go for
Yeah.
sure. And work in the bike valet
Yeah.
during the series is my favorite thing to do. Like, that's the only way I can even be downtown while it's happening. I love baseball, but I hate the College World Series.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's going to be a lot of bike valet opportunities coming up, Lori. So we'll bug you about them. Well, you were there on the bike meeting the other night.
Manny, if we want more people to live down there, I mean, the good thing is they just extremely blighted the old market. So I assume that means
Did
they're
they?
just going, I
Yeah.
assume they're
Did they
just
really?
going to, they really did. Yeah.
Yeah.
They
Okay,
did this
so-
huge overlay of extreme blight for Millwork Commons, which is literally right across the street from where I work every day. And then extended it through the old market and quite a bit south. I mean, it was
Yeah.
a little bit astonishing to me. And they justified it, the city justified it with the idea that there will be opportunities to develop more affordable housing if they expanded it for, all these every directions on the weather vane.
Yep. And that's
Yeah.
exactly what I'm sure they'll do.
Well, I mean, okay, I'll put it like this. North Downtown, there's land there, so you could build new stuff. Old Market, I mean, what are you gonna do besides the riverfront? Just put more money into the riverfront over there. That doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah, I don't know who
They're
gets
going to
to
build
draw
a new
these
music
boundaries.
venue. That's.
I don't think that project got TIF since it's already under construction and I haven't seen it, but
Yeah.
I don't know, Sarah, I don't know if you can talk, if you agree with the way that with this, but the way I felt it was presented at council on Tuesday, it was like, there was a lot of talk around affordable housing, but no actual commitment to saying like, we're doing this in order to build accessible, affordable housing, like to open up this area for the types of incentives that we need to build affordable in this area. I mean, they did have the 18 Howard project on there on Tuesday, but yeah, there was also a lot of talk about like, the entertainment venues that we're going to build. And I'm like, oh, and then we're going to build housing for the workers. Like, I don't understand what the idea is here,
Well,
but this is
it's
just
good
me being a
development.
broken human as well. So
It's good development, like as far as like urban development, like you want more housing downtown. That's just a better way of doing that. But yeah, the fact that there's no like demand or no requirement put on the developments to include affordable housing with this TIF,
That,
then
that's
it's
the part.
like, then there's, let's.
No
Right,
strings
Manny,
attached.
to me, that was exactly the point that was missing. To
Mhm.
me, it was like as hollow as the resolution the mayor started the meeting with.
Yeah.
It's like, here we are talking about affordable housing and we're expanding this extreme blight designation so we can include affordable housing. And yet on the other side, there's no discussion about how we're actually going to implement that or enforce that in the TIF policies that we're offering.
Yeah.
So we introduced a bill this year based on a city council meeting where the city law department said that they did not have the statutory authority to mandate affordability requirements in residential TIF projects. So we were like, oh, well, we can fix that. So I think that got attached to another bill and actually has passed. And what it says is that a city may require affordability in TIF projects. So that opens up a lot of, I think, activism or advocacy opportunities for us to pursue, because you don't then have the cover of we
it
can't
thing.
do it by statute. It's like, well,
Yeah.
statute actually changed so that you can.
Yeah.
The other thing that I think Manny's point was well taken. I just, for fun, went through all the TIF projects in Omaha's history.
So fun.
Just for fun. Well, me and Scott are on the same page here. This is our hobby. And there was like, when TIF first started, like the community development law first started, there was a lot of activity in the old market, but for building housing that meets the needs of low income folks. But all of those projects aged out, paid off their TIF and switched to market rate. So like it's happened. And the same thing goes with like low income housing tax credits, all of those years that they're required to be affordable have stopped and they switched to market rate. So like I'm just, again, a broken human and think that it's of course, we're not probably going to do anything about this, but I will say that there is precedent for doing it. And given the statutory changes and the extremely blighted designation, it's like, this is a really good moment for us to start pushing. Then it's like, well, you said you did this, like you did this extra part of blighting this area. So let's move forward and actually put in affordable housing. But that's just my kick too. So
No, I think
Good. No, that's good. Good.
Yeah. Dave, you raised your hand. You and the tie.
Yeah,
Yes,
so
sir.
so who in the mayor's administration and who on the city council thinks that people who would live in affordable housing are voters?
Well, we
Here's
all
what
vote, and we're
I
going to
think-
push for it.
Well,
Yeah,
part of it,
Who in the government thinks
I'll
that
just-
the people who would live in affordable housing are voters?
but part of it is you have to educate them because they don't know any better. It just is like,
Right.
like the fact that like the AMI, the average, the area median income for Omaha, people can't find affordable housing still. So I don't know if there's any better conservative measure for affordable housing that the people who make the average income can't find affordable housing. So,
Well, that's a liberal reason. It's not a conservative reason.
people will commit crimes and hurt you. There's your conservative reasons,
I think Dave, that's a good point. I will say, the League of Women Voters, they had a question about affordable housing in their guide. So we have receipts to hold people accountable. It's like, well, Councilman Harding said we need a comprehensive creative solution. So it's like, okay, well, when we bring you a comprehensive solution,
You're going to be all in.
yeah. And,
Sure. Yeah.
Pete Festerson ran on affordable housing.
Yeah.
Because somebody-
Everybody,
yeah.
even Don Rowe mentioned
Yeah.
affordable housing. It's on his campaign page. So it's like,
Yeah.
we have the receipts. And so this is why I like the idea. I'm coming on late. Sorry, I had to put the baby to bed. But so I like the idea of this so much is so that we can, because I think the thing that's lacking in our city government is accountability.
That's why we're here.
Yeah,
nailed it.
exactly. So it's like we need to do as much education
Yes.
around one, like how the agenda works, how to participate in city council, how to do
Yes.
these things,
Yes.
so that we can hold people accountable, because it can't just be like one or two people screaming at planning board, which is a lost cause, but is enjoyable anyway. You know, like it has to be everyone standing up and saying like, well, you said these things.
And you work for us and it's our money and we're paying attention and we don't like what you're doing. And you told us you were going to do all these things. And now we're here to remind you that we heard you say that.
Yeah.
Right.
Welcome
Well,
to
the problem with that approach is that shame in politics over being a hypocrite is no longer a functional argument.
Right. I will say
That's
too, though,
that's off the board. So the only thing that works is for Sarah to get elected, for Naomi to get elected, for Cammie to get elected. Okay, and if that's going to happen, more than 30% of the people in the city have to show up and vote. So I think all of this stuff goes back to getting out the vote and
Well, and
getting
that's-
people elected to the city council who actually care about any of these issues. Because the people that are getting elected, some of them care a little bit about some of these issues. Most of them really don't. And nobody, you know, and there's a few people in the mayor's administration who care. I've met them and been in meetings with them, but the majority of them really don't.
Well, I think the
So-
reason that they don't have to care is because there aren't people holding them accountable. And the point of this is to get more people paying attention and understanding how impactful these decision makers are, so that there are more people interested in voting when we have the opportunity to.
So these issues have to be part of a broader voter education campaign, I think.
Yeah, and again, this is a total experiment.
I think somebody needs to be the Stacey Abrams of Omaha and
Yeah,
get people
Verify
aware.
Omaha.
And
Yeah.
Like a
Yeah.
pledge to vote program.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and who knows what, I think that the good thing from the election cycle that we just saw was like a lot more people are paying attention. And yeah, only 32% of the people voted. And I think that's because a lot of people were super bummed that the top of the ticket was completely uninspiring. But ideally, we will continue these conversations and we will rope more people in, and then we will have better people to vote for when it comes time. And in the meantime, we will all be having these regular conversations with our neighbors and our friends so that more people are plugged in and understand what all goes on a weekly basis under our nose with very few people paying attention. So ideally, more people pay attention, more people show up at City Hall or at least write in. And then, as Aaron said, stuff is changing. Like we noticed an issue. Thankfully, Aaron Fechtinger is here doing good work, and the state legislator is doing some good work too. And so things are shifting. And so now we get to be able to say, oh, hey, you know how you said that you couldn't do this before? Now you can, and we expect you to. So we'll give it a shot. We don't know. And then we'll adapt as we need to and see what happens.
Good.
It's the top of the hour, so we should probably wrap up. And it's hard to just be like, oh, by the way, here's 6 million in tips. See you later. But
I can do another 15 minutes.
we're gonna make dinner in like, I don't know, we'll give it 5 more, because TIFF is hard to not talk about for like at least a tiny moment. And I think that, were you about to say something?
No, I mean, we definitely talked about it, which is great.
Yeah.
I get so much shit for talking about TIFF. I can't even tell you.
Yeah, same.
It's like honestly like the
most.
most like contentious, like all I do is fight with people like professionally, for the most part. And TIFF is the most contentious thing that I talk about. I'm like,
Well,
I
actually,
don't know what to tell you.
I don't think there is an actual public hearing on TIFF next Tuesday. It looks like it's laid over to June 15th.
Yeah.
So-
You know what would be better than TIFF? An affordable housing fund.
No, Manny, I've got plans. I've got plans. I'm gonna email you. I'm serious. I'm taking like a minute because my final bill passed in the legislature today. I'm gonna take a few days, but I
Nice.
will promise you, like, I've got plans.
Nice.
They're coming.
Cool.
Awesome. And then let us
Nice.
know how we can all support you, because
Yeah.
I am like, I mean, you pretty much have a Dr. Aaron fan club right here. We're always like, what's she
Stands.
gonna say? Yeah, we must stand for Aaron. But no, you have good ideas and we're here for it. And I think that hopefully some of that will be, I mean, we were talking about TIP a while ago and someone compared it to free pizza. It's like, of course, developers are going to apply for every TIP opportunity they ever have. Why wouldn't they? But it's supposed to be, and the planning department can say, oh yes, you dotted all your I's and you crossed all your T's, and technically this meets all of our requirements, so it can move forward. And then it goes to the city council, which in my understanding, those should be the folks that decide if it's good enough to go through, if it actually benefits the community as a whole. When we have a housing crisis, we can't be just worrying about what's happening in 15 years when we aren't actually putting any strings attached to it now. Erin, I think you're the pro, so take it away.
Well, I'm not really, this just annoys me so much that I've like studied it. But I
Good,
don't
there
know.
you're the pro. Okay, good. In this
Like
circle
not
you are, take
something-
it away.
My partner is the developer, so he would know more, but I think the thing that bothers me so much about TIF is like, of course, it's theoretically unlimited award, right? Like there's no cap on how much TIF awards the city can give out. And when we hear TIF projects presented, which I will just note, by the way, there has been a change. Correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm wrong in this, but over the last 2 years, there has been a change at city council where TIF projects are not just put onto the consent agenda anymore. They are being presented by the city.
Yeah, Bridget, is that
Yeah,
right?
Bridget and Don. And I think that there's a real, as Lori just pointed out, I think there's a real change in tone, but I also think that there is a recognition that there needs to be some kind of like public accountability for whatever it looks like now around these awards that I have not seen at city council for years. So I think that that's a win. The one thing I will say about TIF is like, there are certainly, as Don Seaton pointed out in the meeting on Tuesday, there are quantitative and qualitative measures related to the awarding of TIF. The quantitative measures, right, are from the last census, and there are unemployment and all these kinds of things. But what people leave out is that qualitative part, which is that TIF is supposed to be used for economic development, for, you know, building up that community. It is not to be used for displacing the exact community that qualifies that project for TIF.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening, right? Like, it's like, if you look at Benson, where I live, they put in luxury apartments using like 2 million in TIF. And it's like, of course it qualifies, like it meets the criteria for TIF, but you're missing that other part of it, which is like, if the intent of this is to build up the community and that kind of stuff, it should be used to build up the community that lives there, that has qualified you, that has the unemployment, that has the poverty rate, that has qualified this project for TIF. It should be used to lift up that community, not to displace them. And that's what we've been using it for. And it is unconscionable, like, especially with the housing crisis that we have. It is unconscionable to do it that way. And I think that we need to keep like hitting that point with TIF, is like, you cannot displace people from this. Like, it's not,
Well,
we move more white people, young single white people into this neighborhood, and that's gonna finally be the catalyst Blackstone needs to really get off the ground. Like,
but the thing is like, I think of other neighborhoods, right? And I think that what is needed is more of like a displacement policy too, or anti-displacement, because no matter any investment or any increase in value, just think like, if a whole block just took their own money and painted and fixed up their own houses, the value of that block would go up, right? And that's what happens, but developers come in and do that and the people around them aren't ready, you know? And so that's what's going to happen regardless, especially if we have a housing shortage. That just means the value of land and housing goes up. So it's going to be, you know, the tax burden that, you know, people on a real fixed income won't be able to pay their taxes, you know, their property taxes. There's people out there who are in that situation, right? And then it's also like, what about renters? Because there's nothing, come on now, like, as soon as something goes in and the value goes in, we know what happens. People like to jump on that and then continue to develop. And that causes the rent just in the surrounding buildings to go up. With, you know, it only takes a year once a building starts going into the ground, and, you know, what's going to prevent the rents from going up in areas. So I agree that there should be some restrictions on TIF and where it's used, but without just like a general policy, anti-displacement policy, it's part of the system. That's just how it works, you know.
TIF is provided by the state, and if the city council, or, you know, their legislative body, if they work with the city or planning department, they could come up with their own incentive for Omaha. So the TIF program is provided by the state, but it's actually used all throughout the country. there isn't an incentive, a redevelopment incentive developed by Omahans. And I think that that's where maybe we can get away from TIF when developers can tap into other incentives.
Well, like what Aaron just said, now it is up to the city to add strings if they so choose.
If they may.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
If
they could have done it before. It's just you had Paul Kratz, who was a product of the 70s or 80s or whatever, and was probably muscling the council and saying, oh, well, there's contingencies, there's these things that we can't predict, so you got to stick to what's in the letter of the law. But the city council, it's its own body. When things come to the council, it's their property. And I'm not convinced that before they couldn't have done these things to put conditions into these TIF projects.
Or maybe
No,
they have to vote
admitted
for
as much.
everyone. Sorry, what?
They admitted that assessment at city council meeting was incorrect and that the law was unnecessary, but they still sent their lobbyists to go support the bill. And I think Louise is exactly right and strikes on another point that like builds on the accountability portion is, I don't think the people who work at the city are nefarious or bad people, because at the end of the day, the city council owns those decisions, right? Like, I mean, like they have power, like we elected them to have power to be able to make these decisions and they need to use it. Like you can't just pass it off on a department or say that someone else's fault or we can't do it because of this or whatever.
Figure out how to do it.
Yeah, it's like you could very easily just, I mean, not very easily, right? But like this is your power, is to be able to write an ordinance to say we're not going to displace people. Or do you remember when we kept having those traffic accidents where kids were dying because they got hit by cars? And then I remember listening to a city council meeting where someone was like, I wish we could do something about it. Everyone just drive safe. And you're like, you could do it. You could write an ordinance that says you can't use your cell phone while driving. Like lots of cities have it. You could just do that. You could.
They hired a Vision Zero coordinator. Part of Vision Zero says safe streets are slower streets. And then I stood up at city council and I was like, oh, okay, I'm sorry, I misunderstand what's happening, because you say you want to sign on to Vision Zero, but here you are approving all these speed limit hikes. Like, what are we doing? Your actions and your words are not congruent, and I'm here to call you out on it. And we all are. And so we'll keep doing that.
I was concerned for a hot second when we signed on to Vision Zero that there were people in the city government who felt that Vision Zero actually meant zero pedestrians. Like I thought that that's what we were. I was like, is anyone else scared of this right now?
We have to educate these council people and elected officials because it's just kind of embarrassing.
Generally, yeah.
I don't think this is an unpopular opinion, and I've been toying with it for a while, but I don't actually think that like the city council members are unreasonable or anything like that. I think it's to Manny's point of unfortunately, it just is our job to educate and to bring awareness to these issues and demand change and accountability. And to an extent, it's like, our elected officials don't know everything. They're not supposed to know everything, but they are supposed to ask if they don't know. And to bring a diverse group of people to the table to like sort through those issues. It's not right. Like, I don't expect our city council members to know everything about everything, but I do expect them to be open to ideas and curious and wanting to like make my life is pretty great, but like, make my neighbors' lives better.
Yeah,
exactly. Curiosity, openness, and the willingness to listen are key qualities that have been sorely lacking.
And the willingness to admit that they don't know everything. Like that's the other part. It's like,
that's
you're
huge.
Human. It's okay. Yeah. So we will help them and they will help us and it'll be great. And that is the end of Council Club because I'm hungry and you all are delightful and I hope you have a good night.
The next one won't be until possibly June 8th.
Yeah. So, okay. So looking a little bit forward. So this coming Tuesday is the last meeting for the 3 outgoing members. And then they are actually skipping because of Memorial Day weekend, so they won't have a meeting on the 1st, but then they will on the 8th, which means the next council club agenda will come out on June 3rd, that Thursday. So we will meet here again on June 3rd. If that works for all of you, it would be delightful to see you. Yes.
Are we
Sue?
really looking forward to the mask mandate debate? I've been practicing my impressions of anti-maskers.
Ooh,
I'm
they
really
weren't
excited.
outside protesting last time. Is it even gonna be?
Yeah, I sunsetted.
Yeah, is it even gonna be, like, I think it sunsets on
just
the
gonna-
25th.
It expires
Expired.
on the 25th, and there was no action to renew or
Fix that.
reestablish.
Darn it.
And so
Yeah.
it's just gonna, the mask mandate is
You can
expiring
share
on the
your
25th.
faces here, Erin.
When
but
am
you
I
just-
gonna do my impression ever? Like
Tell it right
have-
now. Now's the
At the
time.
College World
working on
Series,
it.
at the College World Series, will
Yeah.
be full capacity and no masks.
I'll get them to invite me to do the Star Spangled Banner somehow, and then I'll just do
With a-
my
with a mask on.
anti-masker at city
Right.
council impression because
Perfect.
it's a trip. Those people.
Hey, Sarah,
yes.
you might consider doing a club just, to kind of work out the kinks and have a free-flowing discussion. Maybe we can talk about the charter, the codes, things of interest. Because I would join the meeting.
Are you talking about like what we're doing right now? Did I? You mean
On
we
the
should do it
open date.
next week?
Have a meeting on the open date coming up.
Oh, like the coming Thursday, even though there's not specifically
Yeah.
an agenda to prepare for, we just meet anyway because we're nerds and we like to talk about this stuff.
Well,
Exactly.
to like go through the specifically like the city charter or like how do you,
Okay.
so one thing I get a question a lot, and I'm sure you all do too, is like, how do I look up a code,
Yeah.
right? Like, how do I use Muni code?
Yeah. How do you find it on your yeah.
Yeah, I would love to do one eventually about the rental registration
Cool.
database because I've got some feelings.
I love it. Bring 'em. Yeah. Okay. Sweet. Then let's say we'll meet again on whatever. What would that be? I'm looking at literally a paper calendar because I'm an old lady.
28th.
The 27th is because
27th.
also today's the 20th. So yeah, the 27th. Does like 7 o'clock work good enough, or 7:30, or what?
I'm retired. It doesn't matter.
All right,
Whatever
7:30
works for you.
7:30 works better for us.
7:30, because I also on my screen you're next to another parental figure who also had to put their baby down at 7. So
Mhm.
7:30 would work.
Yeah.
That'd be better.
Okay, but I'm not going to be here for like a million hours. I like that it went a little extra, but 7:30 to like 8:45 I can do before I get too hangry. Okay, cool. Well, if you have feedback, email us, Facebook us, tweet at us, etc. We're glad that you joined us because otherwise it would just be us talking to each other as we do.
That's what my house is like. You guys should come over and
Yeah, no, we totally should, Erin. Someday we should have some sort of a
you
porch
know where I
beverage.
live. You dropped off the yard sign.
I do. Awesome. Okay, cool, y'all. Well, I'm also going to post this. We're not starting like a city council club social media. I have way too many. I cannot do another one. So
Don't do it.
it will just be something that we can all share with our friends or enemies and educate everyone so that we all care more and vote more. And
We're gonna post the video.
I think I'll probably just sprinkle it around on all of my social media channels that already exist. So like, I mean,
Facebook.
I
YouTube.
think, yeah, probably Facebook. We might start putting them on like a YouTube channel because we both already have YouTube channels that we could link to. I don't know. We'll figure it out, but you found us now. So you'll find the video when it's around, and then you'll find us again next week at 7:30 for Council Club. Thanks, y'all.
Everybody.
Bye.